You finally receive the opportunity you were waiting for. The email is open in front of you. All you need to do is reply. The position is better than your current one. The person who contacted you sounds interested. For months, you have said that you wanted a chance like this. Still, you do not answer. You tell yourself that you need more time to think. Then you begin checking every detail. What if the work is too difficult? What if people expect more from you? What if you accept and later discover that you are not ready? You promise yourself that you will reply tomorrow. Tomorrow becomes next week. By the time you finally respond, the opportunity has moved on. You feel disappointed, but the deeper feeling is confusion. You wanted this. You worked for it. Nobody stopped you. So why did you stop yourself? This is what self-sabotage can look like. It does not always look dramatic. Sometimes it appears as delay. Sometimes it looks like perfectionism, overthinking, sudden loss of motivation, unnecessary conflict, or returning to an old habit after making progress. You begin saving money, then spend it impulsively. You start exercising, see improvement, and suddenly stop. A relationship becomes peaceful, and you create an argument over something small. A project is nearly finished, but you keep changing it until the deadline passes. From the outside, the behavior may look irrational. Inside, it often has a protective purpose. The mind may be trying to protect you from disappointment, pressure, exposure, change, or the risk of wanting something deeply. If you never finish, nobody can fully judge the result. If you leave first, another person cannot leave you. If you stay small, people may expect less. If you return to a familiar struggle, at least you know how that struggle feels. Self-sabotage is not proof that you are lazy, foolish, or secretly against your own happiness. It may be a pattern you learned because it once reduced fear. The problem is that protection can continue long after it is useful. A habit that once helped you avoid pain can later block growth. This audiobook will help you understand that pattern without shaming yourself. We will look at fear of failure, fear of success, familiar struggle, procrastination, perfectionism, relationships, and the moments when progress begins to feel unsafe. You will also learn how to catch self-sabotage earlier. The goal is not to remove every fear before acting. The goal is to stop letting fear make decisions while pretending to be logic. You can feel uncertain and still reply. You can be afraid and still finish. You can receive something good without immediately preparing to lose it. The first step is seeing the pattern clearly. Chapter 1: Why Self-Sabotage Feels Like Protection. People usually do not sabotage themselves because they want a worse life. They do it because some part of the mind expects danger. That danger may be failure, judgment, rejection, pressure, loss, or change. The behavior creates short-term relief, even when it creates long-term pain. Imagine a student who has an important exam in 2 weeks. The student cares about the result. They have enough time to prepare. They even create a study plan. But each evening, they delay starting. They clean the desk, watch study videos, organize notes, and look for the perfect method. When the exam gets close, panic finally creates action. The student later says, "I always ruin things." But the delay may be protecting them from a difficult test of ability. If they study seriously and still receive a low score, the result may feel painful. If they do not prepare fully, they can tell themselves, "I could have done better if I had tried." That explanation protects the image of potential. The student loses the result, but avoids a clear answer about current ability. This is one reason self-sabotage can feel safe. It keeps the possibility of success alive without requiring full exposure. A similar pattern happens in creative work. A person begins writing a book. The early chapters feel exciting because the work is private. Nobody is judging it. As the book gets closer to completion, fear grows. Finishing means showing it to someone. Showing it means receiving opinions. The person starts rewriting the first chapter again and again. They research more. They change the title. They decide the whole idea needs a new direction. The project stays alive, but never becomes real. Unfinished work cannot fail publicly. It also cannot succeed. Self-sabotage often hides inside reasonable language. I am waiting for the right time. I need more information. I should improve a little more first. I do not want to rush. Sometimes these statements are true. The question is whether they lead to a clear next step. Healthy preparation has movement. Avoidance keeps moving the finish line. Protection also appears when people leave before they can be rejected. Suppose someone enters a new friendship. The other person is kind, consistent, and interested in spending time together. Instead of relaxing, the first person becomes watchful. They notice every delayed reply. They begin thinking this will not last. Before the friendship has a real problem, they stop responding. Later they say, people always leave. But in this case, they created distance first. Why? Leaving first can feel more controlled than being left. The pain is still real, but it arrives on familiar terms. The mind may prefer a pain it chooses over a pain it cannot predict. This kind of protection often begins after earlier disappointment. If you have been embarrassed, rejected, criticized, or abandoned, your mind may become sensitive to similar risk. It remembers the emotional cost. Later, when a good opportunity appears, the mind does not see only possibility. It also sees exposure. A promotion means more responsibility. A loving relationship means more to lose. A successful project means people may watch what you do next. A healthier body means maintaining new habits. Progress creates new demands. The mind may respond by returning to the old position where expectations feel lower. Here is another real-life example. A man starts saving money after years of financial stress. For several months, he follows a plan. His savings account grows. Then he receives a larger payment than expected. Instead of feeling secure, he feels restless. Within a week, he buys things he had not planned to buy. The money disappears. He tells himself that he lacks discipline. That may be part of the issue, but there may also be a deeper pattern. Financial stability feels unfamiliar. Having savings creates new responsibility. Now there is something to protect, plan, and possibly lose. Spending returns him to a familiar state. The familiar state is stressful, but he knows how to live there. Self-sabotage can also protect identity. You may have spent years seeing yourself as the person who struggles, starts late, has bad luck, or never gets support. When life begins improving, the old identity becomes less accurate. That should feel good, but identity change can create discomfort. Who are you if the old story is no longer true? What will people expect? What choices will you need to make? The old identity may have been painful, but it gave you an explanation. A new identity gives you responsibility. This is why change requires more than new behavior. It requires emotional permission to become someone different. You may need to say, I am allowed to be reliable even if I was inconsistent before. I am allowed to receive support even if I learned to do everything alone. I am allowed to succeed without proving that I suffered enough. These statements may feel strange because the old identity has had years of practice. Another protective form of sabotage is creating a crisis. Some people work best under pressure because pressure removes uncertainty. When a deadline is far away, there are many choices. When only one night remains, the choices disappear. The person must act. The crisis creates focus. This can become addictive. Calm planning feels uncomfortable, while emergency feels familiar. The person may say, I need pressure to work. Often, they have trained the mind to depend on stress for clarity. This pattern can change, but early action may feel emotionally flat. There is no panic, no dramatic rescue, and no last-minute victory. Healthy progress often feels quieter. The lack of intensity can be mistaken for a lack of motivation. Self-sabotage gives immediate relief. You avoid the email and feel calmer for an hour. You skip the workout and remove discomfort for the evening. You start an argument and regain familiar emotional distance. You spend the savings and no longer need to think about managing them. The relief teaches the behavior. The next time fear appears, the mind remembers what worked quickly. This is why shame is not enough to change the pattern. Shame creates more pain, and pain often increases the desire for relief. You need curiosity. Ask, what feeling did this behavior help me avoid? What became possible if I delayed, withdrew, or created conflict? What was I afraid would happen if things continued going well? These questions do not excuse the behavior. They reveal its function. Once you know the function, you can find a healthier form of protection. If you fear judgment, ask for feedback in smaller stages. If responsibility feels overwhelming, define the next step instead of the whole future. If closeness feels dangerous, communicate the fear instead of disappearing. If success creates pressure, decide what level of growth is sustainable. You do not need to remove protection. You need to update it. A locked door may have protected you during a storm. It should not remain locked forever after the sky becomes clear. Self-sabotage is often an old safety system operating in a new life. Understanding that can replace shame with responsibility. You did not choose every pattern that shaped you. You can choose what you practice next. Chapter 2, Fear of Failure and Fear of Success. Fear of failure is easy to understand. You may fail, lose money, feel embarrassed, disappoint someone, or discover that your current skill is not enough. The mind wants to avoid that pain. Fear of success is less obvious. Success sounds positive. Why would anyone fear it? Because success changes things. It can create a tension, expectations, responsibility, competition, and the pressure to continue. You may not fear the good result itself. You may fear what the result will require from you. Imagine a woman who wants a promotion. She speaks about it for months. She knows she can do the work. When an internal position opens, her manager encourages her to apply. She starts the application but does not finish it. She tells herself that the timing is not right. Part of her fears rejection. Another part fears being selected. If she gets the role, people will watch her more closely. She may need to lead meetings, make difficult decisions, and prove that the promotion was deserved. Remaining in the current role feels limiting, but it is familiar. Applying creates two risks. She could fail. She could also succeed and be expected to grow. Both fears can produce the same behavior, no application. This is why self-sabotage cannot always be explained by low motivation. Sometimes the goal matters so much that it creates emotional pressure. Fear of failure often uses all-or-nothing thinking. If I try and fail, it proves I am not capable. That belief makes one result too powerful. A failed attempt does not show your final capacity. It shows what happened under specific conditions with your current experience, preparation, timing, and resources. The result may contain useful information, but when failure becomes identity, trying feels dangerous. Suppose a person wants to start a small online business. They spend months choosing a name, studying competitors, and improving the logo. They avoid asking real customers to pay. Why? A real offer can receive a real no. Research feels safe because it allows the dream to remain perfect. Selling turns imagination into evidence. If the first offer fails, the person may think the entire idea is worthless. A healthier interpretation would be, the first offer did not connect. I need to study the audience, message, price, or product. That turns failure into information. The person remains separate from the result. Fear of success often sounds like this. What if I cannot maintain it? What if people become jealous? What if I change and lose connection with the people around me? What if everyone expects more? These concerns can be real. Growth can change relationships. Some people may support you. Others may feel uncomfortable. You may need new routines, boundaries, and skills. The answer is not to destroy progress before these problems appear. The answer is to prepare for the changes that success may bring. Consider a real-life example. A person begins losing weight through a balanced routine. They feel stronger and more confident. People start noticing. Some offer compliments. One friend makes a joke. Now you think you are better than us. The person laughs, but the comment stays in their mind. Soon they stop following the routine. Part of them wants health. Another part wants belonging. If improvement feels like separation from the group, returning to old habits may feel socially safer. This does not mean the friend caused everything. It shows that success can activate a fear of being different. You may need to learn that growth does not require disrespecting where you came from. You can change without treating other people as less valuable. You can also choose relationships that do not punish improvement. Fear of success can come from family roles. Maybe you were the person who needed help. If you become independent, the relationship may change. Maybe you were the quiet one. If you speak confidently, people may react. Maybe your family believes money changes people. Earning more may create guilt. The mind can protect belonging by limiting progress. A real-life example is a young man who receives a well-paying offer in another city. His family is proud, but they also speak about how lonely the home will feel. He begins focusing only on the risks. He misses documents, delays decisions, and almost loses the offer. His hesitation is not only about the job. He feels that accepting it may be a form of betrayal. The healthier task is not simply be brave. He needs to separate love from sacrifice. He can care about family and still accept growth. He can plan visits, offer support, and remain emotionally connected. Staying small is not the only proof of loyalty. Fear of failure and fear of success also appear together in perfectionism. You believe the result must be excellent before it is visible. This protects you from criticism. It also protects you from the consequences of success, because the work is never released. Perfectionism allows you to remain busy without entering the next stage. A person may spend 2 weeks creating a presentation that needed 2 days. Every improvement feels responsible. In reality, they are delaying the moment when people will respond. The useful question is, what level is required for this stage? A first draft does not need final quality. A test version does not need every feature. A beginning does not need the skill of someone with 10 years of experience. When you match effort to the stage, action becomes easier. Another way to reduce fear is to stop treating one step as a permanent contract. Applying for a job is not the same as accepting it. Going on one date is not agreeing to a lifelong relationship. Publishing one video does not decide your entire career. Joining a class does not mean you must become the best. The mind often jumps from the next step to the most demanding future. Then the next step feels too large. Return to what is actually being asked. Reply to the email. Complete the application. Attend the first session. Send the draft. You can make later decisions when later information arrives. Success also becomes safer when you define enough before it happens. Suppose your project begins growing. How many hours are you willing to work? What values will you protect? What support will you need? What would make growth unhealthy? These questions show the mind that success does not need to become endless pressure. You are allowed to grow at a sustainable speed. You can say no to opportunities that damage the life you are trying to build. Fear often becomes stronger when success feels uncontrollable. Boundaries bring back choice. You can also prepare for failure in a practical way. Ask, what is the realistic cost if this does not work? What could I learn? How would I recover? Many fears remain vague. Vague fear feels unlimited. A recovery plan makes the risk clearer. For example, if a course application is rejected, you can improve the portfolio and apply elsewhere. If a new product does not sell, you can gather feedback and revise it. If a conversation goes badly, you can repair what is possible and learn from the rest. This does not guarantee comfort. It shows that failure is survivable. The goal is not to become fearless. It is to stop demanding certainty before participation. Good things often require you to be seen before you feel fully ready. They require you to accept that success and failure both create change. You can handle change in small steps. You do not need to destroy the opportunity to remain safe. Chapter 3. Why familiar struggle feels safer than progress. People can become skilled at surviving difficult patterns. They know how to respond to stress, disappointment, shortage, conflict, and last-minute pressure. Progress creates a different problem. It asks them to live without the struggle that once organized their life. This can feel strangely empty. Imagine someone who has always had financial difficulty. They know how to delay bills, borrow money, reduce expenses, and survive until the next payment. These skills came from necessity. After receiving a better income, the person begins to have extra money each month. The new situation should feel peaceful. Instead, it feels unfamiliar. There is no immediate crisis to solve. The person may spend impulsively, lend money without limits, or create a new financial burden. Soon, the familiar stress returns. The person understands stress better than stability. This does not mean they enjoy financial pain. It means the nervous system recognizes it. Familiar struggle can create identity. You may be the person who always has a problem to overcome. People admire your strength. You feel useful when solving emergencies. When life becomes calmer, you may not know how to feel important. A crisis gives immediate purpose. Peace requires you to choose purpose. That is a new skill. Consider someone who grew up in a home filled with arguments. As an adult, calm relationships may feel unusual. When a partner is respectful and consistent, the person waits for a hidden problem. They may test the relationship. They ask the same reassurance question repeatedly. They create conflict to see whether the partner will stay. When the partner becomes tired or distant, the person thinks, "I knew this would happen." The pattern confirms the old belief. The test helped create the result it was designed to predict. This is one way familiar struggle reproduces itself. A belief shapes behavior. Behavior affects the situation. The result strengthens the belief. For example, belief people always leave. Behavior hide needs, become distant, test loyalty, or leave first. Result, the relationship weakens. Conclusion, people always leave. The cycle feels like proof, but your behavior was part of it. This is not about blaming yourself for everything that happens. Other people make choices too. It is about noticing where an old expectation influences the present. Familiar struggle may also feel safer because progress removes excuses. If your project is always beginning, you can say that you need more time. When the project succeeds, new questions appear. How will you manage it? What will you build next? What if the next result is weaker? The mind may prefer being almost ready, because almost ready protects potential. Real progress asks you to live with evidence. Another real-life example is a person who repeatedly starts health routines. The first 2 weeks feel exciting. The plan creates hope. As the routine becomes normal, excitement fades. Now the person must continue without strong emotion. They stop. A month later, they start a new plan and feel excited again. The person may not be addicted to failure. They may be attached to beginnings. Beginnings offer hope without long-term responsibility. Maintenance feels ordinary. This is important because good things often become ordinary. A healthy relationship will not feel intense every day. A stable job includes routine. Saving money can feel boring. Exercise often becomes repetitive. A project needs maintenance after launch. If you expect progress to remain emotionally exciting, normal stability may look like a problem. You may sabotage it to feel intensity again. Some people create pressure because stress produces energy. They delay until the deadline becomes close. Adrenaline arrives. The work suddenly feels clear. When they finish, they experience relief. This cycle is emotionally powerful. Starting calmly 2 weeks earlier does not produce the same rush. The healthier method may feel less satisfying at first. You are replacing intensity with consistency. Consistency is quieter. It may take time before quiet progress feels rewarding. Familiar struggle can also preserve connection with people who are still struggling. Suppose you begin improving your life while close friends remain in the same situation. You may worry that success will create distance. You may hide good news. You may stop following your plan around them. You may spend money you wanted to save because saying no feels uncomfortable. Belonging is a strong need. The answer is not to judge your friends. It is to learn that connection does not require identical choices. You can care for someone without repeating every pattern. You can grow without giving a speech about growth. You can maintain humility without abandoning progress. Sometimes relationships change as you change. That can be painful, but losing yourself to prevent every change is also painful. To make progress feel safer, you need to practice stability in small amounts. If you usually create financial crises, keep a small amount untouched and learn to tolerate seeing it remain. If calm relationships make you restless, notice the urge to create conflict and wait before acting. If you abandon routines after progress, reduce the routine instead of stopping completely. If you depend on deadline pressure, begin one part early and allow the work to feel ordinary. These actions teach the mind that calm does not mean danger. Another useful practice is to name the new normal. This is what stability feels like. This is what maintenance feels like. This is what a respectful relationship feels like. This is what having enough feels like. The sentence helps because unfamiliar peace can otherwise be mistaken for emptiness. You may need new sources of meaning. If crisis used to give you purpose, choose goals that do not require damage first. Learn, create, help someone, build a routine, join a community, care for your health. Purpose can come from growth, not only rescue. Progress also becomes safer when you expect discomfort. You may think a good change should feel good every day. In reality, positive change can include grief. A better job may mean leaving familiar coworkers. A healthy boundary may disappoint someone. Improved confidence may change a relationship. Saving money may require saying no. These feelings do not prove that progress is wrong. They show that change has a cost. You can accept the cost without returning to the old struggle. Familiar pain may feel like home because you know every room. Progress asks you to build a new home while living inside it. At first, it may feel strange. Give it time to become familiar. Chapter 4, Procrastination, Perfectionism, and Avoidance. Procrastination is often described as poor time management. Sometimes it is, but many forms of procrastination are emotional management. You are not avoiding only the task. You are avoiding what the task makes you feel. A difficult phone call may create fear. A job application may create self-doubt. A large project may create confusion. An important exam may create pressure. The task becomes connected to discomfort, so the mind chooses something easier. You check messages. You reorganize files. You clean. You watch another tutorial. These actions may look useful, but they keep you away from the emotional center of the work. Imagine a man who wants to apply for a scholarship. He has the qualifications. The deadline is 3 weeks away. Every evening, he says he will start the personal statement. Instead, he searches for examples, changes the document format, and reads advice from people who were accepted. He spends hours around the application without writing the first paragraph. The missing skill is not information. It is willingness to create an imperfect beginning. The first paragraph may feel weak. That is normal. A draft is supposed to be incomplete. Perfectionism says the first attempt should already look like the final result. Because that is impossible, starting feels painful. This is how perfectionism and procrastination work together. Perfectionism raises the emotional cost. Procrastination delays paying it. When the deadline gets close, there is no time for perfection. The person finally acts. Then they may say, "I work better under pressure." Often, pressure simply removes the option of endless improvement. A healthier approach is to create that limit earlier. Set a short period for the rough version. Tell yourself, for 20 minutes, quality does not matter. My only task is to make something visible. You can improve what exists. You cannot improve an empty page. Avoidance also hides inside research. Research is useful when it answers a specific question. It becomes sabotage when each answer creates a reason not to act. Before researching, write the decision the information will support. For example, I need to compare 3-course prices before choosing. I need to learn how to upload the final file. I need 2 examples of a strong introduction. When the question is answered, return to action. Do not let research become a waiting room where the goal lives forever. Procrastination can also come from vague tasks. Work on my career is too wide. Update the first section of my resume for 20 minutes is clearer. Become healthy creates pressure. Walk after dinner today creates movement. The mind avoids tasks that have no visible starting point. Break the task until the first action feels obvious. Another real-life example is a person who wants to improve their room. They look around and see clothes, papers, cables, books, and boxes. The whole space feels overwhelming. They sit down and scroll through organizing videos. A smaller instruction changes the situation. Put all clothes in one place. After that, choose the next category. Self-sabotage often loses power when the task becomes specific. Perfectionism also affects finishing. A person may complete 90% of a project and then slow down. The final stage creates exposure. Once the project is finished, it can be judged, accepted, ignored, or rejected. Keeping it unfinished preserves control. You can still imagine that it will be excellent someday. To finish, define the release standard in advance. What must be correct? What can be improved later? What is outside the purpose of this version? A first video does not need the quality of the 100th. A first business offer does not need every future feature. A first conversation does not need to solve the entire relationship. Progress happens through versions. Another form of avoidance is waiting for motivation. You tell yourself you will act when you feel ready, confident, focused, or inspired. Those feelings may come after beginning, not before. Action gives the mind evidence. You write 1 paragraph, and the task becomes clearer. You exercise for 10 minutes, and energy changes. You send 1 email, and the fear becomes more specific. Readiness often grows inside movement. This does not mean forcing yourself through severe exhaustion or distress. It means not treating every uncomfortable feeling as a stop sign. Ask whether the feeling signals danger or normal effort. Normal effort can include uncertainty, boredom, frustration, and imperfect confidence. Avoidance may also protect you from choice. When you do not choose, every possibility remains open. Choosing one direction means losing another. A person may compare courses for months because selecting one closes the other options. The search feels productive, but no skill is being built. At some point, a good choice followed by action becomes more valuable than a perfect choice that never happens. You can set a decision deadline. Gather enough information. Choose based on your current priorities. Then give the choice a fair period before judging it. Constantly reopening the decision prevents commitment from producing results. Here is a practical method for a sabotaged task. First, name the task in 1 sentence. Second, name the feeling you are avoiding. Third, reduce the task to a 10-minute action. Fourth, decide when and where you will do it. Fifth, stop after the planned period or continue by choice. For example, task, send the application. Feeling, fear that my work is not good enough. 10-minute action, open the form and complete the personal details. Time and place, tomorrow at 9 at the desk before checking messages. This method removes some of the drama. You are not completing your whole future. You are completing one visible action. You should also remove unnecessary escape routes. Put the phone in another room. Close unrelated tabs. Prepare materials before starting. Tell one trusted person what you will send. Environment cannot solve every emotional problem, but it can reduce the number of decisions. When sabotage happens, do not turn it into a new excuse. You may lose a day. That does not require losing the week. Restart with the next small action. Many people sabotage the recovery by saying, "I already failed, so the plan is over." A plan is not destroyed by one misstep. It is destroyed when one missed step becomes an identity. You do not need a perfect record. You need the ability to return. Chapter 5. Why you pull away from healthy relationships. Self-sabotage does not appear only in work and goals. It can appear when a relationship begins feeling safe. A person treats you with respect. They communicate clearly. They show interest without creating confusion. Instead of relaxing, you become suspicious. You may think they are hiding something. You may feel less excited than you felt in unstable relationships. You may begin finding faults, testing them, or becoming distant. This can be confusing because part of you wants a healthy connection. Another part does not know how to receive it. If you learn that closeness includes uncertainty, calm attention may feel unfamiliar. Your nervous system may have connected love with waiting, chasing, proving, or repairing. A stable person does not create the same emotional intensity. You may mistake intensity for chemistry and peace for boredom. Consider a real-life example. A woman begins dating someone who replies consistently and keeps plans. There are no confusing games. After a few weeks, she starts thinking, something is missing. She becomes more interested in a person from her past who was unpredictable. The past connection created stronger highs and lows. The new connection feels quieter. The issue may not be that the new person is wrong. The issue may be that calm has not yet become emotionally familiar. This does not mean you should force a relationship that lacks genuine connection. It means you should not use anxiety as the main proof of love. Healthy closeness can grow slowly. Self-sabotage in relationships can take the form of testing. You cancel a plan to see whether the person will chase you. You become cold to see whether they notice. You mention leaving to see whether they fight for you. Tests usually hide a need. You may need reassurance, attention, or proof of commitment. But tests make the other person solve a problem they were not allowed to understand. Clear communication is healthier. Instead of becoming distant, say, "I notice that I become worried when communication changes. I need clarity about what we are building. I am feeling vulnerable and want to talk rather than assume." This requires courage because direct needs can receive a direct answer. Testing feels safer because you can hide the need. But hidden needs often create visible damage. Another pattern is starting conflict when closeness increases. A peaceful weekend may be followed by an argument over something small. The conflict creates distance. Distance reduces vulnerability. The person later regrets the argument, but may not understand its timing. Ask what was happening before the conflict. Did the relationship become more serious? Did the other person express strong care? Were you about to depend on them? Did you feel seen in a way that was uncomfortable? The argument may have been an attempt to return to a safer emotional distance. People also sabotage relationships by expecting mind reading. They do not express a need because they believe the right person should already know. When the need is not met, they feel unimportant. Then they withdraw. This creates a result that confirms the belief that nobody understands them. Healthy relationships need communication, not perfect prediction. A caring person can still miss signals. A clear request gives the relationship a chance. Fear of abandonment can also produce early abandonment. A man notices that his partner is busy for several days. He worries that interest is fading. Instead of asking, he becomes distant. The partner notices the change and gives him space. He sees the space as proof that she does not care. The cycle grows from an untested interpretation. Separating facts from fear can help. Fact, communication has been shorter for 3 days. Fear, the relationship is ending. Next step, Ask calmly whether something has changed. This does not guarantee the answer you want. It prevents fear from acting as if the answer is already known. Healthy relationships may also challenge identity. If you are used to being the rescuer, an independent partner may make you feel unnecessary. If you are used to chasing, mutual interest may feel too easy. If you are used to hiding, emotional safety may invite honesty. Each change can create discomfort. You may need to learn a new role. You can be loved without earning love through rescue. You can be wanted without chasing. You can be honest without creating a crisis first. Another real-life example is a friendship. A person has always felt like the outsider. A new group includes them naturally. They receive invitations and support. Instead of joining fully, they skip events and assume the group is only being polite. Eventually, invitations become less frequent. The person says, "I never belong." The old identity influenced the behavior. A healthier experiment would be accepting several invitations before deciding what they mean. Allow people to show consistency over time. Relationship repair begins with recognizing the moment you want to protect yourself through distance. Pause before sending the harsh message. Pause before disappearing. Pause before creating a test. Ask, what am I afraid this closeness will cost me? What do I need to say directly? Am I responding to this person or to an older experience? These questions can change the next action. Boundaries remain important. Understanding self-sabotage does not mean ignoring genuine disrespect, manipulation, or incompatibility. The goal is not to stay in every relationship. The goal is to make decisions based on the actual pattern, not only on fear created by closeness. You are allowed to leave harmful relationships. You are also allowed to remain when something good feels unfamiliar. Safety may feel quiet at first. Give yourself enough time to learn its language. Chapter 6. Catch the pattern before it controls you. Self-sabotage becomes easier to change when you notice it before the behavior is complete. The most useful moment is often small. It is the moment before you ignore the email, the moment before you skip the routine, the moment before you send the message designed to create conflict, the moment before you spend the money you plan to save. At that point, the pattern may still feel like a reasonable decision. This is why awareness needs to be specific. Saying, "I sabotage myself," is too wide. Ask what self-sabotage looks like in your life. Do you delay until opportunities disappear? Do you begin strongly and stop after progress? Do you create conflict when relationships feel close? Do you change goals whenever the work becomes difficult? Do you spend, eat, scroll, or withdraw when success creates pressure? Your pattern has a sequence. A trigger appears. A feeling follows. A thought explains the feeling. A behavior brings short relief. A later consequence creates regret. Write the sequence down. For example, trigger, my project receives positive attention. Feeling, pressure and fear of higher expectations. Thought, I need to make everything much better before posting again. Behavior, delay the next post for weeks. Short relief, nobody can judge the next result. Later consequence, momentum disappears. When the sequence is visible, you can interrupt it earlier. Another real-life example. Trigger, a partner becomes emotionally closer. Feeling, vulnerability. Thought, they will eventually hurt me. Behavior, become cold and start an unnecessary argument. Short relief, emotional distance returns. Later consequence, trust becomes weaker. The trigger is not always negative. This is important. Self-sabotage often begins after praise, progress, intimacy, money, attention, or opportunity. Good events can activate pressure. Notice what happens after something goes well. Do you immediately reduce its importance? Do you search for a hidden problem? Do you create a reason to step backward? Do you think about how difficult it will be to maintain? These reactions reveal where receiving may feel unsafe. A practical tool is the pause rule. When you notice a strong urge to abandon, destroy, spend, withdraw, or create conflict, delay the action. The delay may be 10 minutes, 1 hour, or 1 day, depending on the situation. During the pause, write 3 things. What happened? What am I feeling? What result will this action probably create? Suppose you want to quit an exercise plan after missing 2 days. The pause may reveal, what happened? Work became stressful and I missed 2 sessions. Feeling, shame and fear that I have lost discipline. Likely result of quitting. I will turn 2 missed days into another long break. A better action may be a shorter session tomorrow. The pause creates space between feeling and identity. You can also create an opposite small action. Do not try to perform the complete opposite of the pattern. Choose the smallest movement in the healthier direction. If the pattern says, do not apply, open the form and complete 1 section. If the pattern says, disappear, send one honest message. If the pattern says, spend everything, move a small amount into a separate account first. If the pattern says, the routine is ruined, complete the minimum version. Small opposite actions build evidence. You learn that fear can be present while behavior changes. Another useful method is naming the protective purpose. Say, this delay is trying to protect me from judgment. This argument is trying to protect me from vulnerability. This spending urge is trying to return me to what feels familiar. The language matters. You are not saying the behavior is wise. You are showing the mind that you understand what it is trying to do. Then offer an updated form of protection. I can protect myself from overwhelming pressure by setting a reasonable limit, not by abandoning the goal. I can protect myself in the relationship by asking a clear question, not by creating distance. I can protect my money by making a plan, not by removing the money. This approach combines compassion with responsibility. You can also prepare for predictable sabotage points. Most patterns repeat at similar stages. You may stop exercise after 2 weeks. You may abandon projects near completion. You may feel relationship fear after a certain level of commitment. You may overspend after receiving extra money. Plan before the stage arrives. If you usually stop exercise after early progress, schedule a simpler maintenance week. If finishing a project creates fear, choose the release date and feedback person in advance. If extra income triggers spending, decide the percentages before the payment arrives. If closeness triggers withdrawal, tell the other person that you sometimes need time to process without disappearing. Preparation is easier than making a perfect decision during a strong emotional moment. Accountability can help too. Tell one trusted person about the exact pattern. Do not say only, help me stay motivated. Say, when I get close to finishing, I start changing the project. Please ask me whether the required version is already complete. Specific accountability is useful because it targets the moment of sabotage. Choose someone who is supportive but honest. A person who increases shame may strengthen the pattern. A person who accepts every excuse may not help you change it. Self-sabotage can also be reduced by making progress less dramatic. Do not announce every goal too early. Do not build your identity around one result. Focus on the next action. Large emotional promises can create pressure. A quiet routine may be easier to maintain. For example, instead of declaring, I will completely change my life this month, choose 3 actions that fit your current capacity. The mind often rebels against plans that feel like a total identity replacement. Small consistency allows identity to change gradually. You should also study the language that appears before sabotage. Common phrases include, I will start properly next week. This small effort does not count. I need to be completely sure. It is already ruined. They probably do not care. I should quit before I waste more time. These phrases may feel logical because they are familiar. Treat them as warning signs. Ask for evidence. What would you advise a friend in the same situation? What action keeps the future open without demanding perfection? If the pattern is deeply connected to trauma, addiction, severe anxiety, depression, or repeated harmful relationships, professional support may be valuable. Some patterns are difficult to change alone because they are connected to strong emotional memories or physical reactions. Seeking support does not mean you failed at self-improvement. It means you are using another tool. Catching the pattern will not make every urge disappear. Success means noticing earlier and choosing differently more often. Maybe you used to disappear for a month. Now you communicate after one day. Maybe you used to abandon the routine completely. Now you return after one missed week. Maybe you used to destroy the opportunity. Now you ask for more information and remain involved. These changes matter. Progress is not only the absence of sabotage. It is the growing ability to repair quickly. Chapter 7. Learn how to keep the good things you build. Many people know how to chase something. Fewer people know how to receive it, maintain it, and let it become normal. Keeping good things is a skill. A goal may require intense effort at the beginning. Maintenance requires rhythm. A relationship may begin with excitement. Keeping it healthy requires communication, boundaries, and ordinary care. Money may arrive through one opportunity. Keeping it requires planning. Confidence may grow after success. Keeping it requires an identity that can survive mistakes. The first step is allowing good things to be ordinary. You do not need to feel excited every day to know something is valuable. A stable routine may feel repetitive. A peaceful relationship may include quiet evenings. A healthy financial plan may look boring. A mature project may need regular maintenance rather than constant reinvention. Boredom does not always mean the path is wrong. Sometimes it means chaos has reduced. Consider a real-life example. A person starts a small business. The first months are intense. Every customer feels exciting. Later, the business becomes stable. Now the work includes invoices, schedules, customer support, and repeated tasks. The person begins searching for a dramatic new direction because ordinary maintenance feels dull. A healthier response may be improving one system while protecting what already works. Growth does not always require destroying the foundation. The second step is building capacity alongside opportunity. When something grows, ask what support it needs. A promotion may require better time management or delegation. A stronger relationship may require more honest communication. A larger income may require a budget. A bigger audience may require boundaries with attention and criticism. Success feels less dangerous when you have a plan for its demands. You do not need to know everything before accepting the opportunity. You need willingness to learn. Here is another real-life example. A creator's work suddenly reaches more people. At first, the attention feels exciting. Then comments, expectations, and comparison create pressure. The creator considers disappearing. A sustainable response could include a realistic publishing schedule, limited comment checking, and a clear definition of success. The solution is not always to produce more. Sometimes it is to protect the conditions that made good work possible. The third step is learning to receive. Some people feel comfortable giving effort but uncomfortable receiving praise, help, love, or money. They reduce compliments. They refuse support. They immediately repay every act of kindness. Receiving creates vulnerability because it means something valuable is entering your life. You may fear depending on it or losing it. Practice receiving in small ways. When someone gives a sincere compliment, say, "Thank you." Do not immediately explain why the compliment is wrong. When help is offered by a trustworthy person, consider accepting part of it. When a good result arrives, allow yourself to name it before creating the next goal. Receiving does not make you weak. It teaches the mind that value can arrive without immediate repayment or fear. The fourth step is protecting progress from emotional extremes. Do not make major decisions during a temporary wave of shame, panic, anger, or excitement. A difficult day does not need a permanent response. If you want to quit after criticism, wait. If you want to end a healthy relationship during one conflict, slow down and study the pattern. If you want to spend a large amount immediately after receiving money, Create a waiting period. Emotions provide information. They do not always provide timing. The fifth step is keeping promises small enough to trust. Self-trust grows when your actions match your words. Do not promise a perfect year. Promise the next repeatable action. I will work on this 3 times a week. I will save this amount each month. I will speak directly when I need space. I will return after a missed day. Each completed promise becomes evidence that progress can be kept. Confidence is not only believing you can achieve something. It is believing you will not abandon yourself when the process becomes uncomfortable. The sixth step is creating room for setbacks. A good system expects difficult days. You may become sick. Work may become stressful. A relationship may enter conflict. Motivation may become low. The plan should have a recovery path. What is the minimum version? How will you restart? Who can support you? What must be protected first? A routine without a recovery path is fragile. One interruption can look like the end. A routine with a recovery path bends without breaking. For example, a person saves money every month. One unexpected medical expense uses part of the savings. The old pattern says, the plan failed, I may as well spend the rest. The healthier system says, this is one reason savings exist. I will rebuild gradually. The setback did not destroy progress. It showed the value of the progress. The seventh step is choosing people who can tolerate your growth. Healthy support does not require constant praise. It includes people who respect your boundaries, celebrate progress without making it a competition, and remain honest when you begin repeating an old pattern. You may also need to change how you speak about yourself around others. Do not always reduce your good news to make everyone comfortable. Humility does not require pretending that nothing is working. You can say, I am proud of the progress, without saying you are better than anyone. You are allowed to grow openly and kindly. The final step is trusting that good things can last without being perfect. No job is secure forever. No relationship is free from difficulty. No routine works without adjustment. No success removes every fear. Trying to guarantee permanence creates more pressure. The goal is not to hold life so tightly that nothing can change. The goal is to participate fully while it is here. You can care for what you built. You can repair when possible. You can adapt when needed. You can survive if something ends. This reduces the need to destroy it early. Self-sabotage often says, end it now so you will not be surprised later. A healthier voice says, I can stay present without controlling the entire future. You may have called yourself lazy, inconsistent, difficult, or undisciplined. Maybe some of your choices created real damage. Responsibility matters, but shame alone will not show you why the pattern continued. Self-sabotage often begins as protection. It protects you from being judged, from being left, and from unfamiliar pressure. It returns you to an identity and struggle you already understand. The relief is short. The cost arrives later. Change begins when you catch the moment between fear and action. You notice the delay, the urge to disappear, and sudden need to create a problem. Then you ask what the behavior is trying to protect. You do not have to follow the old answer. You can protect yourself through boundaries, preparation, communication, support, and smaller steps. You can finish imperfectly. You can remain in a peaceful relationship long enough to understand it. You can keep saving after one difficult month. You can return to the routine after missing a day. You can accept an opportunity without promising that you will never struggle. The good things in your life do not need a perfect version of you. They need a version of you who is willing to remain. When progress begins to feel uncomfortable, do not automatically run back to the familiar. Pause. Look at what you have built. Ask whether the danger is real or whether an old pattern is asking for control. Then choose the next action that protects your future. You are allowed to succeed without destroying the evidence. You are allowed to keep what you worked hard to create. And when something good begins to last, you do not need to search for the moment it will disappear. You can learn how to stay, I hope you have a beautiful day. Thank you.